it's really important to me, and it was in my career, to really grow as a leader, to understand what makes people effective leaders. And then as I would grow in the department, and generally in this business, you have to move around to grow, to go to school. I was very unique in that every time I thought about leaving IU, something would happen, just very fortunate, that I would gain more responsibility or able to continue to grow here. And then certainly at some point, I thought, well, if I had an opportunity to ever lead this department as athletic director, it would really be something that I feel I could really do a good job and really to challenge myself to figure out how I can help IU become the best it can be.
In today's episode of the Hero of the Hour podcast, Mark chats with Scott Dolson, Vice President and Director of Athletics at Indiana University, which we all know is Mark's favorite. During this episode, you'll learn about Scott's core 5 principles, what it means to be a hero at the university, and my personal favorite, the importance of anti-hate and mental health programs. Thank you so much and enjoy.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Mark Murphy, the founder and CEO of Northeast Private Client Group and the author of my upcoming book, my third book, The Ultimate Investment. But I'm here with a friend of mine for probably a quarter of a century, somebody who started when he was in school as a manager on the basketball team and has risen through the ranks to become the athletic director at Indiana University. Scott, I would make the argument that I don't know who's more powerful in the state, the governor, the president of the university, or the athletic director. I'm not sure which, but or the basketball coach. But certainly, somebody who improves the lives of everybody you touch. I'd love people who don't know you just to find out a little bit about. I always like to ask the question. How did you get started? Where are you right now, and where are you going? Because I as I've said to you before, I said, along with hiring Coach Bob Knight in 1971, I don't think Indiana University made a better hire than making you the athletic director. And I just couldn't be happier for you and happier for the university.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on, Mark. And as you mentioned, we've been close for a long time, probably a quarter century, and certainly just getting to know you and really it's such a big part of my job is meeting alumni and people who support IU, and you've been incredible for so long, and I appreciate that. And for me, growing up in Northern Indiana as a big IU fan, having the opportunity to come to school here and get my degree and work for Coach Knight in the basketball program while I was here was certainly an incredible opportunity. And to say that here some 30 some years later that now I'm still here and I'm the athletic director is kind of a dream come true, you could say. I never really thought this would happen, but I was just able to have the right people around me and people like you that I really been inspired by throughout my career that helped me grow and just thrilled to be where I am today.
When I went to Indiana, it was a Midwestern school. My opinion now is it's become not only an international school, but it is a heavily East Coast school where there's a lot of people from New York and New Jersey and the East Coast coming because of the incredible academics and environment we have at Indiana. I played high school basketball, obviously not good enough. Isaiah Thomas had my position, in college. It was a decent high school basketball player, but talk about somebody who's, it could be a high school basketball player. Tell me about your experience. How did you become a manager? Because that was like the beginning for you. I mean, it's sort of like from like the mailroom to the CEO. That's how you start. I mean, how did you get involved in that? How did you decide to become a manager? And what was that experience like working for Coach Knight?
I was very, very fortunate because, I grew up like you playing basketball and I wanted to play, but again, just wasn't good enough to play at this level. But just so happens that my best friend in high school, a guy named Delray Brooks, ended up being the #1 player in the country. And he and I were like brothers, and he decided to come to school here. I was coming to school at Indiana regardless, but when he came on his visit with Coach Knight, he committed to play here. And he called me and he said, hey, Steve Alford, who was another player on the team, an older player, his roommate was a manager. And he said, you love basketball and love IU more than anybody I know. You should think about becoming a manager because we can room together. I'm coming to IU. And that's where it all started. Without him, I would have never even thought about it, to be honest with you. And the manager program, even to this day, is an incredible opportunity where you learn so much. You learn how to work, how to budget your time. It's really a full-time job in addition to going to school, and just for me to be around Coach Knight and to see perfection and how he was the best at what he did, and to learn so much from him was just an opportunity of a lifetime. And I honestly, this is a fact. I rely on that experience and things I learned during that time, every day in my job now. I really look back at that experience as just an opportunity of a lifetime.
One of the things that you talk about, core principles or core values that you have, and I just want to put my glasses on so I can read it and don't get it wrong. But I know your predecessor and you live by 5 core principles. And I just want to read them because I think they're so imperative. Number 1 is playing by the rules. Number 2 is being well in mind, body, and spirit. Number 3, achieving academically. Number 4, excelling athletically. And 5, integrating with the university. Those sound like 5 pretty good core principles. I mean, these are life principles. Every single person who's watching this podcast could live by those rules. Tell me what those mean to you.
Yeah, what those mean is that's our foundation. That keeps us in balance, and everything we do revolves around those 5 core principles. And particularly in this day and age around college athletics, when there's a lot of change, a lot of transformation happening. And it's really imperative that we hold to our values, understand what our foundation is, and then certainly adapt as the world around us changes. And, I give my predecessor, as you said, Fred Glass, credit. I was his deputy AD. And when he came on board, that's one of the things we want to do is really establish who we are. And really going back to what we talked about earlier, when I was a basketball manager for Coach Knight, that's really what he stood for in the program under him, and then therefore other successful programs, whether it's soccer under Jerry Yeagley or football under Bill Mallory. And so for us to codify that, put that down as really our foundation, I think is really important, and to continue to use that as our foundation and grow from there.
That's, did you, one of the things we've never talked about is, so you start as a student, you start as a manager, and then, you work, and the next thing you're the AD. When did you go, I think I could be the athletic director and I could be successful at that, and this is something I want? Like, when did you go, well, that could be a real possibility? Or, we never talked about when you envisioned that that's a possibility.
Well, I'll say this. It's a really good question. I'm not sure that there was one moment when it popped in my head, but I do know this. When I was a basketball manager, my senior year, as a senior, you become the head manager. You're in charge of,
right.
There's 12 or 13 managers below you. And my senior year, there was another manager who was senior with me, but he was kind of off and on. So when I became the senior manager and I was able to have a vision for how we should change the program and to really delegate and to manage and motivate people, it really hit me that I really enjoy that. I love helping other people do their jobs. I help identifying talent and growing that. And I remember a distinct feeling as I was doing that's something that I just liked. And then I started I watched Coach Knight, I watched other leaders, and I grew in my career, I had a passion to really just watch people in meetings, to observe and say, that person's really well respected and does a great job of speaking in meetings. What do they do? How can I adapt my style to what they do? And so I'm not a big voracious reader, although I've read some great leadership books. I'm really picky on what I like. I want to read yours, Mark. I'm sure yours is really, really good, but it's really important to me, and it was in my career, to really grow as a leader, to understand what makes people effective leaders. And then as I would grow in the department, and generally in this business, you have to move around to grow, to go to school. I was very unique in that every time I thought about leaving IU, something would happen, just very fortunate, that I would gain more responsibility or able to continue to grow here. And then certainly at some point, I thought, well, if I got an opportunity to ever lead this department as athletic director, it would really be something that I feel I could really do a good job and really challenge myself to figure out how I can help IU become the best it can be.
That's, I just think regardless of what your vocation is or your career path, I think that, sort of that discovery, it's sort of like, the be, do, have, I'm going to be that person, do the work that that person does, and then I'll have the title and the rewards and the responsibility down the road. And I think, so many people are not conscious of it. They just think that they're going to get discovered or it'll just happen accidentally. And I think the fact to have at least some kind of plan or some intentionality around it is great. One of the things I would just say to the people who are watching this is, of all the podcasts I've done, I'm in the tank for Indiana University because I want to tell everybody one is Bloomington, Indiana, and Indiana University is my happy place. And the thing that I love so much about Indiana, you can talk about how highly rated the schools are, in terms of the Music Conservatory. The Kelley Business School is as fine a business school in the country, and I'm leaving out a number of other great schools that are there. But the thing that makes it feel so good to be part of Indiana University is I've never been around a place where not only being successful is important, but doing it the right way is important. I would tell any parent or grandparent that's going to send their kid there, not only are they going to leave with a great education, not only are they going to be open to experiences of all shapes and sizes that they couldn't get at any other university, but it's safe. The people are kind. The people are nice. It's almost like a throwback to a time of it's almost like watching an idealized version of the world. And I think with so much tumult in the world, so much unkindness, so much uncertainty in the world, to me, Indiana University is just a slice of Americana that I don't think exists anywhere else.
Man, I'd love to hear you say that, Mark, and you personify that, because if a lot of times, because in my business, because I'm around young people all the time, people ask, what's the key to success, or how do I grow in my career? And you would be a perfect example of that. And this, what I've tried to emulate is it's not, you don't overcomplicate it. A lot of it comes from just working really, really hard. And there's not been anyone I've ever met, to be honest with you, that has works any harder than you do. And over our 25 years, I've watched you work, and you multitask, and you do what you say, and you say what you're going to do. And when you work hard and you treat people well, I do think those are the key ingredients to anybody being successful. And I talk about it in the department a lot. We have over 300 employees and lots of different roles, and how all of them feel a part of the team. And I think if you work really hard, you're really good to people, and you're a team player, I think you can be successful. I really believe that in whatever path you choose. And again, you're a perfect example. And I hope that in my career, I would never say I've got some special sauce from the smartest person in the room, or I've got some secret skill set that is enabled me to be where I am today. I just think I'm sort of a normal person who just was around great people like Coach Knight, who I observed, who figured it out that if you really, really work hard and you make things happen, and you're good to people, and you're a team player, you can do a lot of great things in your career and in your life.
I am convinced, because we already see the movement in place. I'm convinced that as you move even more into your tenure, the following things are going to happen. Number one, our basketball program will be back right at the top with all the blue bloods and take our rightful place at the very top of the college basketball world. We're going to be in the top half of the Big Ten, along with the SEC, the toughest conferences in America for football. I'm going to see our women's programs be as strong as any programs in the country. And just look at our basketball team right now, and I want you to share some of the other things you're doing there. But what I really think is that you're going to make Indiana University continue to be a destination place. It's going to be great for the state. It's going to improve all of our academic programs, because people are going to be there's something special going on here. And there's something special going on here. And the thing that I've heard naysayers say to you is, Scott, you're doing all these things. We already see it happen, and you're doing it the right way. People say, well, you can't do things the right way. You got to cut corners. You got to cheat. You got to do unethical things to make all those things come true. You can't do that, Scott. How the heck are you doing it, Scott? And can you do it without cutting corners and doing some things that other people do?
Yeah, I believe you can. And I appreciate what you're saying, because that is our, we're a very mission-oriented department, a mission-oriented university to really define success, what success looks like, and then just work like heck and work smart to make certain that happens. And as a department, whether it's with our basketball program, specifically, or whether it's department as a whole for all of our student athletes, we know what success looks like, and we're going to put together a really good plan. Adapt as the days and weeks unfold and things change, but certainly know exactly where we're headed and how we're going to get there. And I think if you keep it simple, people want to be on a team and understand what success looks like. And that's really, and I give President Witten, who's just a year and a half into her tenure here, she's been a great addition. You've met her, Mark. She's really terrific, and I'm proud to be a part of her team. She's the same type of leader, mission, hard work oriented, not entitled at all. And let's make certain we're good to people, and we make a difference in young people's lives. And at the end of the day, certainly, we all want to win. That's why we compete, right? We're competing, and we're very competitive. We want to win, and we want our alumni to feel good about that, our student athletes. But we want to win in all facets. And as you said, with our priorities, obtaining our degree, developing personally, maximizing every opportunity is really important. We want our student athletes, when they leave, to feel like, wow, I couldn't have had a better experience. And the people were just really great. And therefore they want to come back, and they want to continue this tradition that we have here of really having an unbelievable university and a great athletic department.
I think along, we're either first or second with the University of Texas as having the most number of alumni in the country. But I know the rules have changed. The landscape has changed with this NIL money. And for people who don't know that, there was a court case that allowed athletes to be paid for the first time for their name, image, and likeness. It's kind of changed the landscape. Talk a little bit about that, and then talk about if somebody who loves this university, loves this state, and loves to just be part of something that's special, being something that is so wonderful, like Indiana University, wanted to get involved. How do they help the university and help you as well? I'd love to know those two things.
Sure. What it did, the name, image, and likeness, the opening up of that opportunity for student athletes really created the ability for our student athletes to be treated just like other students on campus. So other students used to be able to be entrepreneurial. They could have their own camp or clinic, or they could generate revenue for themselves through their name, image, and likeness. Student athletes used to be excluded. Now those walls have come down, and they can certainly do that. And we felt like, just like anything else we do with our student athletes, whether it's academic achievement or athletic achievement, that we want to maximize that opportunity for our student athletes. So we do a lot of educating of our student athletes. We talk to them about their brand. How can they maximize this opportunity to generate revenue, particularly while their name is hot, while they're participating, whatever sport it is, at a high level. And at the same time, we've worked with our alumni, and you certainly have been a big help in this area as well, Mark, to make certain that they understand there's ways that they can help us support our NIL efforts with our student athletes, all legally through the NCAA rules, to generate opportunities so that our student athletes can maximize that just like they are academically and athletically. So we've done a lot of really, I think, innovative things. I think we've been on the cutting edge. At times, I think other schools were thinking, well, I'm not sure I agree with it, or sort of waiting to see how things go. And we were really aggressive, setting up all of the aspects of NIL so that we're really, really good at it, like we are at other things in the university. So alumni that want to support, there are ways that they can either hire our student athletes if they have a business. They can make contributions towards what we call the NIL collectives that certainly generate revenue then, and put our student athletes in a position to utilize their name, image, and likeness to benefit charities. And so there's lots of ways to do that. And I'm really proud of our efforts in that area. And I'm proud of our student athletes that have really jumped in with both feet and been entrepreneurial and maximized that opportunity.
I was reading a book, and I've befriended a fellow Hoosier alumni who wrote a book, and he talked about that. I may be off by 1% or 2%, but he said in this world, about 64% of the people stand in. They just stand in or bystanders in life. He said there's about 35% of the people that stand out, but there's about 1% of the people in America that actually elevate others with the work they do. They elevate and try to elevate and lift other people up. And I've just said, that there are so many people that love this state, love this university, want to be part of something special. people say give till, I've heard the expression that says give till it hurts. I always say if it hurts, that means you're not giving enough. Give till it feels good.
Right.
And I think that, that I think so many people don't even realize that that one person can move the needle. One person can inspire other people to move the needle. So many people have had, I don't know one person for the last 40 some odd years from generation after generation that has not had an amazing experience at Indiana University. Nobody goes to Indiana and says, boy, that was a terrible experience. Nobody. There's nobody says that. And so the idea to get those people involved and to make sure that they have the pride in the university that you and I both have. And I would love to see nothing more than to just have, nothing more than just have a force of people that just want to change for the better, because we're doing it the right way. And doing it the right way means, I always say there's an expression that I've heard from a gentleman called Leo Futi. It says there's no right way to do the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. And, I think we do the right thing every single time, which makes me feel so proud.
I'm glad to hear you say that, Mark, because I've heard that same thing. I've heard someone say there's never a right time to do the wrong thing, or never a wrong time to do the right thing. And that's what we try to do. And again, with this name, image, and likeness, it's no different than academic support. We want to make certain we're doing everything we can to maximize that opportunity for our student athletes. And then ultimately, because one of the things that sometimes is I talk to different alumni, where does athletics fit in the university? And the way we look at it is athletics can really rise the entire university up. It's that front porch or the picture window that everybody comes to and then looks into the rest of the amazing university. And when you say doing things the right way, it's incumbent upon us and me that we do things right that reflect the entire university in such a positive way that we can attract more alumni, attract future students to the university to continue to grow and to just make special things happen here at IU. So we have a huge responsibility beyond just trying to win games. It's really elevating the entire university. And I love that part of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I just say there's no decision or thing that acts in a vacuum, meaning the more successful we are on the playing field, the more valuable my degree at Kelly becomes.
Right.
The better opportunity. I mean, I know with the business placement office there, and I know both with athletes and with students, I don't think there's a better university in the country to go to school at if you're looking to get a job with a top company when you graduate. It seems like employers flock to this university because of not only the education but the values that we espouse. They know they're going to get good people.
Yeah, I could agree more, Mark. And you personify everything that we want in IU. I mean, just what you've done, and not only your career path and leaving IU and what you've done with it, but how you've come back and how you have that energy. And now your kids come to school here, and you're just elevating the entire university and keeping it growing. And that's what I get my adrenaline going is to build on what we've had and not to just rest on our laurels and not to say that we figured it all out. Let's be really asking questions. Let's be aggressive. Let's make certain that we continue so that we continue to bring the brightest, the best to IU and continue to do great things. And I feel like, I've had incredible opportunity here, but I feel it's one of my biggest jobs to make certain it's ready for the next people to come in and take over, and we can build from that. It's not about me, it's about the organization. It's about building a foundation that someone else then can build on from there, just like somebody did for me.
I call this podcast the Hero of the Hour podcast. And I bring on people that are either personal heroes to me or heroes to other people. When you hear the word hero, what does that mean to you? And who are some of your heroes?
Yeah, that's a great question, because when I think of hero, what it means to be is someone that you really, really admire, you look up to, they've done something, or the way they are that you really, really admire. And for me, when I think about the word hero, for me personally, it's changed as I've gotten older. When you're young, or at least me when I was young, my heroes, were IU basketball players. It's funny, and here it's so funny how life works. When I was 9 years old, IU won the national championship in 1976, undefeated season in basketball. And Quinn Buckner and Scott May were the captains of that team. And those were I idolized them. My name was Scott. My friends would call me Scott May because they knew I loved IU so much. And I just those guys were my heroes. And now today, Quinn Buckner's the chair of the IU Board of Trustees and is my ultimate boss above the president. And I meet with Quinn Buckner regularly on big issues with IU. And so that was what, at a young age, what a hero was to me, was someone that just, I thought, achieved some amazing things. But as I get older, I think, I've changed a little bit. Those are still heroes to me, but you get different perspective. My wife survived cancer twice, and I was with her through her unbelievable surgeries, a 12-hour surgery and different. And you look at people who endure and they're brave, and they have an unbelievable conviction. And that's what, my wife would be someone who I would look at as a hero to me, that, as a youngster, you wouldn't really fathom maybe how you look at things differently that way. But she's a hero because I was just there, and I just saw everything that she went through. And you think, could I ever, what if I were in her shoes? How could I do that? And so, I look at things different. I look at my dad as more of a hero than I did when I was younger. My dad's 80, will turn 80 February 14th, actually. And he still works full time. He's an independent insurance agent and works his tail off. That's what he does. And he's good to people. And so, for me, I think that's what I've tried to live up to. And that's sort of my hero. And that's what I hope in my career, whether it's with or my life, with my kids, with my wife, with people I work with, is you want them to look at you and respect you. And you hope that you've kind of laid out the way you do things, the example you set is something that they respect, and that hopefully they would try to emulate someday.
You and Heidi have 5 kids.
Mm-hmm.
We have 5 kids, Lisa and I.
Mm-hmm.
How do you raise 5 kids, give them enough attention, lead a university, and have some personal time for yourself? How do you get health, wealth, meaning, and love in your life at the same time?
It's great. And I give Heidi so much credit because I'm not a great, candidly, balance is hard for me. It's hard because I'm a hard charger. I work and I finish the job, and I come from a family of kind of, it's what we do. But Heidi's been great at making certain that I understand balance and try to make certain that I can unplug. But even knowing that, what we've done with all 5 kids is I've talked to them a lot about work, so they do understand that, and particularly as they were growing up, if I'm preoccupied or I've got to jump into a call, I don't divulge ultimate secrets or put them in a tough spot, but I make certain they know what's going on. And I think that engagement, that they understand, they're in it with me, really helped not only them understand why I had to work like I do or have to work how I do, but also that they're engaged with me in it and they feel it. And I think it's brought us, I've used that balance in those sometimes get out of balance as a way to bring us closer together. And I couldn't tell you how much support I have from the 5 kids and from Heidi, because, they live it and breathe it with me, and they know how I am, and they support me 1,000%.
The thing that always comes, and I think this is I always say I'm a New Yorker with Midwestern sensibilities. Mm-hmm. I'm much more comfortable in the Midwest, although I love living in Manhattan when I did. I loved living on the East Coast. But I would say I'm in Midwestern with sensibility. One of the things that I so enjoy about our relationship, and I enjoy about Indiana, is you've obviously got somebody who's as accomplished and successful as you, as powerful as you, but it always reeks humility. You always come from a place of being both humble and confident at the same time, and it is it's so refreshing. How do you keep the humility around you as you had more success?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I appreciate you saying that, because it's really, how I feel. I feel that, and I've always felt this way, that I'm no better than anyone else. I'm just try to work hard and be good to people, like I've said a lot during this conversation. But at the same time, I feel like no one else is better than me. In that at a young age, being around successful people, particularly being around Coach Knight, around the basketball program. One of the things that I really saw clearly was that they're just people, and because again, when you're really young, sometimes you think people are just this extraordinary, gifted, and there's talented people, don't get me wrong, but we're just all the same. And I think that you have to keep yourself in check. And as I've grown in the department, it makes me almost more conscientious of, as I was growing up, I was always appreciative of leaders who took the time to say hello, that took the time to recognize everybody and didn't, I felt like they were one of the people, and that's how I've always just been. So, it's, I don't consciously think about it every day, but it's just something that I think is innate in me, that, I just think you work hard, you're good to people, and that you're not any better than anybody else, but you're certainly not any worse. So if I'm in a room with a bunch of CEOs or people that are really, really successful, I feel like I belong, but it's not because of it maybe lifting me up, but it's almost saying they're no different than I am. And it's no different than if I'm around anybody else. We're just all the same, and just treat people right, and people have different gifts.
Yeah, the slam I used to use when I find someone has a little bit of hubris or arrogance, I always say, he looks in the mirror every day and loves what he sees. So that's it. So that's the opposite of who you are, and hopefully who I am.
Right.
But I was gonna say, the other thing is, I know of a couple of ways where you've disrupted athletics. I know you've been on the cutting edge of mental awareness and mental health going through the pandemic and everything for athletes. I know you've been involved with a lot of anti-hate programs. Tell us a little about those programs, and what might not I know, or might not would people who are watching this know about things you're working on and you've done to make the world a better place and Indiana a better place.
Yeah, what's really what is and has been important to me is that sometimes I think initiatives or programs become more of something you put on your website that looks good or sounds good, but is there really any depth to it? And I'm big into the authenticity of what we do. And I've felt, mental health, this isn't me being, it's not a revelation, but if you pay attention to anything with young people today, their mental health has become more and more of an issue. It's become more and more something that needs to be attended to. And so right away, when I took over as athletic director, we created a mental health task force, and we've really put a ton of effort internally into making certain that we are on the cutting edge of mental health initiatives. And that's not just providing resources from a mental health standpoint, but it's training, which I think is the most important aspect of this, so that anyone who's as a student-facing position, that they've got the training so they can identify and be able to see if someone is maybe reaching out or needs some help, or to really make certain it's on the forefront of our minds, so that hopefully we can get in front of any situations that happen. And again, it's great to say it, but the big thing for me is that we do it and it's authentic. And it's the same thing with our diversity, equity, and inclusivity efforts, is that particularly after the George Floyd unfortunate occurrence, that it became sort of the thing to talk about. And again, it was talked about everywhere. But for us, I said to our students when we came together and we talked about it, I said, this is a marathon, not a 50-yard dash. And our efforts in this area, whether it's hiring more diverse candidates for jobs, or whether it's creating opportunities for our students to have a voice and talk about their experiences from a diversity, equity, inclusivity standpoint, those are all things that are authentic, that we do and we regularly work on, and it's real, and we've got real information and real exchange. And I think kids particularly pick up on whether you're just doing it to do it or you really mean it. And for us in our department, those are initiatives that are really important. The final thing I'll say is we've got a Women's Excellence Initiative. It's the 50th anniversary of Title IX. And one of the things that was important to me is that, again, let's just not talk about it, but what can we do to enhance all of our women's student athlete experiences and improve the performance of our teams? And so that's been an exciting initiative as well, because again, we talk about it, we tout it, because it's important that people understand where our values are, but it's more important to me what we're doing internally to authentically make big things happen and affect change. And so I'm really proud of our whole department and how we've embraced those initiatives.
Well, that's, the other thing too, is I think everybody, who's even a casual observer of college athletics knows that Indiana is one of the blue blood basketball programs. That I believe we play in the cathedral of college basketball at Assembly Hall. And there's no better environment in the country, or certainly nothing better than us when we are ready for a big game. Tell people some of the other accomplishments. I mean, people, I don't think see the success we've had in soccer or we've had in women's basketball. Some of the, just give us give us an overview of for a casual person about about the success that we've had. I mean, we've had as across all the sports.
Yeah, I would say if someone knows college athletics but doesn't know specific things about Indiana University, I'd say we've been very fortunate that we've had a history of a core of unbelievably successful coaches that have sort of were the springboard for IU athletics to just become a national brand. And really they were in swimming with a coach named Doc Councilman, who is the really the founder of all the modern swimming techniques and was just an unbelievable, and won national championship after national championship in swimming. We had Jerry Yeagley in soccer, all-time winningest coach in the history of college soccer, who, again, our soccer programs, just the stats are unbelievable, what we've done from a championship standpoint. We had Bob Knight in basketball, who at one point was the all-time winningest coach, and then Mike Krzyzewski, who was his player at Army, supplanted that. But again, just an iconic coach. And I could go on, but we had these iconic coaches who then established that tradition of how we do things here, how we recruit, how we develop our talent, how we compete. And what we've been able to do is, and what I'm really proud of right now, because it's a perfect example of on the women's side with women's basketball, that Coach Terry Morin now is really on the cusp of creating a program, which now we've been top 10 in the country the last 3 years, and to really establish. We're trying to do is build programs, Mark, not just a great team that is sort of a flash in the pan. And that's what I think one of my big, I know one of my big jobs is to make certain across the board that we're developing programs and that then we attract the right student athletes and can really use the swimming, soccer, men's basketball, our historic greatness to really build off that and for our other sports. But that's what I'd say we'd really be known for. Swimming, soccer, men's basketball, but there's so many other stories out there where our programs are really growing, great track success. And if field hockey is a sport no one would ever really associate right now with Indiana University, but I think our field hockey program at some point is going to be one of the best in the country, and I can just feel that build happening.
Yeah, I as I said, there are so many wonderful things happening, and I love that we're doing it the right way. I want to thank you for taking the time. I know you've got a flight to catch. Coming to watch the basketball team play tonight. But I got to tell you, my life has been richer because of Indiana University. I grew up dumb and broke in Suffern, New York, and all I can tell you is that I couldn't find a better place to go to school, and it was the right place for me. It's been the right place for 2 of our kids so far, and maybe more. And I would love to talk to people about Indiana University and Indiana basketball anytime, because it is such a magical, special place. This is a wonderful, wonderful place, and I'm just fortunate that Indiana's smart enough to hire somebody like you.
Well, it means so much, and I can't thank you enough for having me on, Mark, and just more importantly for your unbelievable friendship. And as I said earlier, I mean this: you personify everything we want out of our alumni at IU, and you've continued to make IU look good, not just in the success in your career, but how you treat people and your passion for helping others, and it just means a lot. So all the best to you, and can't wait to see you and Lisa and the kids again at a game soon, and just know how much we appreciate your friendship.
Hey, thanks, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you.